How do you factor in the guys that will come in here this summer, kind of keeping an eye on that with what you're working with now?
I think you don't give a ton of thought to it because and it's you would never say this you'd never say this in recruiting, but yet you do to a certain degree. I mean, if it's our expectation that a freshman's going to come in here and play right away, at the linebacker position, then we're probably not very good defensively. I think if you see a good deal of that across the country, you're probably looking at some defenses that, are struggling in some cases where they're having to play a freshman for whatever reason. I mean, you saw it at Florida State this past year with a quarterback. I mean, that's, you're gonna take some bumps in the road. So I don't give a ton of thought with those guys coming in. I do, however, with what they're doing right now and their development and what they're trying to do to prepare themselves for the opportunity once they get here. But by no means would I look at that group of guys and say, okay, here's somebody that's immediately going to be in our two deep. I mean, it's just unless somebody is just AJ Epinesa, where AJ did that this past year. We've had James Daniels do that. Those type of guys are out there. They're just they're few and far between, and it's a tough sledding when you're in there as a young linebacker. And let's just say it is a true freshman linebacker going up against a fifth-year offensive tackle from Ohio State. I mean, that he should win 99% of those reps. It's just from a development standpoint, the curve is pretty great. Right now is this time of the year really gives us a chance to move some guys around. Not to say that we're not trying to to figure out where a guy fits completely, but we've got a handful of guys that are in that middle linebacker position. I wouldn't. I wouldn't try to say it's down to two guys. Monty Jones has taken, a good deal of reps at that position. So, we're trying to work those guys through. I think the strengths overall from a linebacker standpoint are, probably the fact that, that these guys are eager, as I said from the start. I mean, that's the most noticeable thing is whether you walk down the hallway with them prior to meetings or you walk out onto the field or once we get into practice, the one thing that is most noticeable is these guys are eager. They're ready to go and they're ready to find a way. And it may not be just three guys like it's been for the last couple of years. It may be more like the defensive line where there's a rotation. I don't know. I can't answer that 3 practices into it, but I do know right now that I'm optimistic and probably a little bit more. I guess maybe a little bit more sure of what we've got. Not to say that, again, the painting's finished yet. The big part of it is, what's being taught one day, what's being corrected one day. Is that, are you showing improvement and reducing the amount of errors the following day?
Do you remember how old Dylan Doyle was when you first met him, and what's that like now, seeing him come full circle and now you're coaching?
Well, I was here as a graduate assistant in 06, 07, 08, so, whatever it would be, and then we came back, my wife and I came back 4 years ago, now going on 5 years, and our oldest son, spent time on road trips or at home games with Dylan, so, I used to see Dylan walk in the room and walk in the locker room and celebrate, victories with us, and, now here he is sitting in the meeting room and, in some cases getting his ass ripped and, whatever it is, so, it's good. I mean, it's, the whole room is healthy right now, and I say healthy, not necessarily medically speaking, but healthy from the standpoint of, they're engaged, they want to know, they want to develop, they want to improve. So, from that standpoint, I'm encouraged as a coach. We just we got to find a way to keep this thing going through, through the end of August.